all the time.
Hello, this is Mary Hawk, president of Pagan World TV, and we are honored and excited to announce that Pagan World TV has been nominated in two categories of the 2024 Witchcraft and Occult Media Awards. Our YouTube channel Magic TV has been nominated in Outstanding Vlog or Vidcast, and the video Journey to the Parliament by Sir Ed Hubbard has been nominated in Exceptional Video. So we do ask that you follow the link scrolling at the bottom of the screen and vote for Magic TV and Journey to the Parliament in those two categories. We also encourage you to review all the nominees in all the many categories available and vote in those as well. And again, please vote for Magic TV and Journey to the Parliament. Thank you so much.
A hand-carved natural quartz crystal ball made into a necklace for divination on the go. Crystal balls have been used for centuries in healing and cleansing rituals, as well as for divination. The sphere represents infinity and the circle of life. While a wand uses focused energy, the crystal ball sends out energy in all directions. This makes it a great resource for discovering the complete circumstances surrounding a question.
Sarah had been trying to write a book for ages, but she was still on page 1. Until she discovered SpeakYourOwnBook.com. Sarah teamed up with one of our trained writing coaches, who listened to Sarah's book idea, asked the right questions, and guided Sarah every step of the way. In 90 minutes, they had written the outline for Sarah's entire book. Within weeks, using the speak writing method, Sarah became a published author, both online and in print. Whether it's a textbook, an autobiography, a novel, or a children's book, speakyourownbook.com can help.
Yeah.
Visit our website today to download our free 50-question guide and schedule your free consultation. With Speak Writing, anyone can publish a book. Speak your own book today. You speak, we write.
Welcome to the Conscious Radio Network's YouTube channel. Become enlightened, have fun, and tell all your friends and family to share with everyone they know. You can find us on Facebook and stay up to date on our Facebook group, or find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Our podcasts can be found on Libsyn, iHeart, Spotify, Google Podcast, and more. Most of all, remember to go to our official website at consciousradionetwork.com for podcasts, hosts, future shows, and scheduling. We also want to welcome our international audience. Don't stop now. Enjoy the community. Subscribe today.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you might be on this spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's weekly podcast series, The Seance. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Meckes. If this is your first time tuning in, please click subscribe, like, share, or comment. And also, don't forget to follow us wherever you listen to your podcast. Today, replacing anger with love and how to apply it. Joining us is a former CFO of a public company and now a love language linguist and author of Love is God. His journey from childhood experiences of searching and finding love to eventually creating a method that transformed his life from anger to a loving being. In his book, you'll find what helped him move from childhood boot camp of abuse to being a person who loves everyone and can find good in anyone in any circumstance. Let's welcome to the Seance today, Paul Zolman. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you, Doctor.
You are very, very welcome.
Pleasure. To be here.
Absolutely. This is. I am intrigued. Let's go back in time. What was this transition? How did this come about?
If you say go back in time, I'd like to just talk briefly about my grandfather. And my grandfather lived in the middle of the United States in Indiana in the late 1800s. He had 9 children with his wife, and then after that 9th child was born, apparently it was suddenly or very quickly after that the wife passed away. He was so distraught about that he decided he was going to sell his house, sell the farm, sell all the equipment, everything. When the people came to pick up the equipment or came to the auction, he said, "Would you also like this child? Would you like this child? Would you like this child?" And he systematically gave every child away except for one. He took Benjamin with him to Montana, found a school teacher that had never been married her, had 10 more children, of which my father's number 6. My father was born in 1922, and when he was 10 years old, his father, my grandfather, passed away. So here you have the abandonment of 19 children in the depths of the Depression in 1932. So you've got abandonment issues, you've got financial issues, you've got all these things compounding on these families. And it was just very difficult. My father only was able to finish through 8th grade. After that, he became a truck driver. And he was gone when I was growing up. He was gone during the week, would come home on Friday, and I respected him for having a date. Every single Friday was date night with my mother. And every Friday. He never missed. I mean, he was really super good about taking care of his women in that way. Well, I was kind of the thorn between two roses. I have an older sister and a younger sister, and I'm the last boy. I'm number 10 of 11 children. So that Zolman family is prolific throughout the years there. I have 8 children myself, so I've toned it down just a little bit.
Yeah. Right on.
But so that meeting or that date that my parents had every Friday night, the venue was part of the problem, and then alcohol on top of it. So the venue was the Maverick Bar, and it was over alcohol that my mother would say, "How was your week?" And my father would say, "Well, how was your week?" And back and forth. And so by the time they got down to me, my father was very angry about what had happened through the week. And it all seemed to pile on me. It just seemed that way. I'm sure it wasn't that way, but it seemed that way. And so I dreaded the weekends, absolutely dreaded the weekends, and still have a little fear of weekends right now, that it's not a time to have fun, that I've got to watch out for things that might come my way. So we either would get the belt or we get spankings on Saturday. And that was just how we started the weekend. It was just not a very fun time. It was abusive. I remember one time that I was spanked so hard that I was black and blue for about 3 weeks or more. I know it was at least 3 weeks. And so we didn't know, Ghostbusters hadn't come out, and you didn't know who to call. So we didn't know. We just didn't know that. We just thought that was normal family, and that you don't share those kind of things. That's just a family matter. And it was just kind of a difficult circumstance. So from that, I felt like I had residual anger from that upbringing. I blamed my father up until I was about age 35 for all things that went wrong with the relationships with me, all things that ill failures along the way that I had. I was blaming my father for it. And the funny thing, doctors, about blame is that you can blame somebody all day long, and then you don't have to change. It's like a false atonement, so to speak, that no one is taking that away from you. Even if you blame them, it doesn't take the problem away. So until you take responsibility for your own problems, then there's not going to be any change. You don't have to change. It's somebody else's problem. It's somebody else's fault. And as long as you've got that attitude, you're never going to change. You're just going to stay kind of in that static in that same spot. Such it was until I was 35 years old. Then I realized, oh, I'm responsible. At age 35, my father he'd been dead for 7 years. Yeah. Poor guy, he didn't even have a chance to defend himself when I was blaming him for one thing or another thing. And so at that time, I thought, yeah, I've got to change this. I've got to figure out what I really want to do with my life and stop looking toward the past about what happened and start making a new life. And so I started working on that. And fast forward, about 15 years ago, I was dating. I thought I had pretty well gotten over a lot of the anger. But what I found out that I was doing was I was taking one annoyance and stacking another one on top of it, and stacking another one on top of that, another one on top of that, until I flashed, until I just had a blow up, an anger. And so about 15 years ago, when I was dating, my first marriage ended in divorce. And it's probably because of those issues that I was blaming someone else for things that I needed to change myself. And I take full responsibility that way, that it could have fallen apart for those reasons. There were other reasons, obviously, but it could have fallen apart for those reasons. And so I'm dating this person. It's time to take her. I'm number 10 of 11 children, so I always have to have big brother approval. So I was taking this lady up to my big brother's house. And first thing that happened was my sister-in-law pulls her aside and said, the only emotion that the Zolman family learned growing up was anger. At first I said, then it made me mad. Yeah, she nailed it. And so I realized at that point that I've got an opportunity here, that I can either change the perception of the Zolman family, or I can leave it the same, or I can just continue to deny it. And I thought, I've got to change that. I don't want that perception to be had for my own name and for my children's name. And so I decided to start reading the color code and then the 5 love languages book by Dr. Gary Chapman. And I really liked the love languages, mainly because Dr. Chapman introduces that it follows the pattern of the life of Jesus Christ, that he touched people. He touched the eyes of people, the blind people, and they were able to see. He touched their ears so they could hear. And he just had the gifts of the Spirit. He spent time with people. He served them, and we've got his words. So all 5 love languages were absolutely in the life of Jesus Christ, and that really resonated with me. But I just still didn't understand it. So I came from that background of abuse, and I just could not understand what it was that what love was. But in the book, Dr. Chapman says, well, if I guess what your love language is, and I cater to that, then we're going to be buddies.
Yeah.
That did not sound like love to me. Who am I to say what love is from where I came from? But that didn't sound like it either.
Yeah.
So that didn't work for me. I'm a bad guesser too, really bad guesser. So that wasn't going to work for me. The next thing that Dr. Chapman has is that, well, if you take this survey, then you'll find what love language you are. So, okay, but what do I do with that information? Advertise? Hello, doctor.
Yeah.
I'm gifts. What do you have for me today? I mean, that's not love either. That didn't work for me either. So telling someone, and I can see this in Dr. Chapman, he was trying to help the communication there, but I can see someone saying, well, I told you what my love language is. Why aren't you catering that? Why aren't you doing it? And just have that little whiny voice, and you get this little pity party going. And I thought, oh, that's not love either. And I thought, help me with this direction. So in the book, it talks about the giving it away and then receiving it back, but mostly it's about you and about how you like to receive love. And I thought, well, what about the test? Is that what I like to give away, or is that what I like to receive? And for me, they were actually different. Most people may think that if they have a primary love language and if they give it away, then it'll come back to them. Well, if they give it to the wrong person, that's not giving that type of love language. It's not coming back. And so they just keep giving, hoping that someday it's going to come back, and it's just not happening. So figured out a better way. And even in these hard times growing up, we had a few happy times. I remember the happy times. They were still very competitive, still very almost abusive in the competition at playing games. And it was just, I mean, insults would fly, and the locker room talk that happens of just the put downs of the smack talk always going on. And so I still liked the games because I felt like it brought our family together. So I contacted Dr. Chapman and said, I've got an idea. I wondered if you'd license those icons for the love languages to me. They wrote back and said, no, they're not doing that. I was very grateful that they said that, because what it allowed me to do is create my own. I went to a copyright attorney here in my town, found out that theory, like the theory of the love languages, is not copyrightable.
Wow.
Application is. So they did not have this as a game. So what I did is I made my own icons and made it into a game. And it's actually just a die. So you can see on the die, you've got the words, the time,
the
service. There's touch. There's gifts. Now there's 5 love languages, 6 sides on the die. The 6th side I had to work with, and I made it up to be surprise me. So just 2 instructions. You roll the die every day. That's the love language you practice giving away all day that day. Just one direction. That's really the only thing you have control over, what you send out. Yeah. You can't really bid love to come your way. You can't. You can ask, but even if you ask, it almost would be duty bound for that person to do it because you ask. That's not love. And if you are giving it away, expecting it to come back your way, That's for in a reciprocity type of situation. That also is not love. That's a transaction.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get away from different things that people are doing that really are not love, and try to help people deepen their love. Giving it away without any expectation of it coming back is true love. But you're trusting the process. You know that the law of harvest is a true principle, that what you sow, somebody else might reap, or you might reap, or there may be other people that reap from that. But sending it out with trusting that it's coming back, it does come back. Let me tell you what else happens when you send this out. Instead of having to stop, pause the relationship and say, could you take this survey so I can find out how to love you? You don't have to do that anymore. Watch for them to light up.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do. When they light up, that's what they like. That's their primary love language, or one that's close to it. Maybe they've got two. But just make a mental note and wash, rinse, repeat. Do it over and over again. Just watch and try to remember what people like. That is a personal interest in them. They'll remember. If you remember, they're going to send love your way. The best thing about this is if after doing this for 30 days, you know all 5 love languages backwards and forward, to give it away. When it comes your way, you can see it, all 5 love languages too. Even though it might not be your primary love language and it's over here, you say, oh,